While you're dead asleep in bed, your cat may still be wide awake. Somewhere in a dark corner, the dark doesn't slow them down at all. At some point, they get bored or start missing you, and that is when things get weird. Some cats will quietly sniff your breathing or sit on watch at the head of your bed. They might drag a sock to your pillow, and honestly, we should be grateful it is a sock. It beats a mouse or a snake, because to your cat, that is just a strange midnight gift. People think this nighttime behavior is chaos, but it is not mischief at all. It is pure emotion, and sometimes it is a pretty deep one. Welcome to the channel. Today we're talking about something most cat owners ignore. Few people really understand what a cat is doing after you fall asleep. Those nighttime behaviors are trying to say something very specific to you. I'm not going to hit you with a bunch of dry technical terms. I'm not turning this into some boring pile of facts. I'm going to break this down in the simplest way possible. We will unpack the things cats do that people constantly misread. By the end, you'll start seeing your quiet little cat very differently. A lot of those tiny things you thought were random carry deep emotional meaning. Some of them mean more than the affection your cat shows you during the day. A cat's night is not the same as a human's night. You go to sleep, but your cat may not because the house is still full of things to patrol. Humans turn the lights off and shut the day down, but cats stay alert. Some are even more active at night than they are during the day. Cats are naturally crepuscular, which means dawn and dusk are their prime windows. Once you're asleep, the choices your cat makes are actually quite revealing. During the day, you are present, so your cat is slightly performing for you. At night, you are out, you're not looking, and you're not responding. What gets left behind is instinct and the most direct version of how they feel. If you really want to understand your relationship, nighttime is the clearest window into it. If your cat scratches the door, that doesn't always mean it just wants in. If it stares at you, that doesn't always mean it is being creepy. If it comes close and sniffs your face, that doesn't always mean it is just curious. A lot of these things have real logic behind them. And once you understand that, the next time your cat wakes you up in the middle of the night, you may not feel the same way about it. You may stop thinking my cat is being annoying, and start realizing this may be one of the quietest things my cat says to me all day. So let's start with one of the most frustrating and most misunderstood behaviors. Number 1, your cat scratches at your door at 3 in the morning, but it may not actually be trying to come in. A lot of cat owners know this one. You're fast asleep and suddenly you hear it, scratch, 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 right outside the bedroom door. And the timing is weirdly specific. It is always around 3 or 4 in the morning. So naturally your first thought is, great, my cat wants in again. But a lot of the time it is more complicated than that. Cats are deeply attached to routine. A huge amount of their emotional security comes from familiar daily patterns. What time you go into your room, what time the lights go out, whether they usually sleep near you, or whether the bedroom is normally open to them. All of that matters more than most people realize. So when those patterns change, it can really throw them off. Maybe you've started going to bed later, maybe you've started closing the door, maybe your cat used to sleep in the room and now suddenly can't. To a cat, that isn't just a small inconvenience, it can feel like a shift in the relationship itself. And that is the part people often miss. Humans think about space in a practical way. A door is just a door. But cats don't always separate space from relationship that way. They connect the two. So if you're behind the door and they're outside the door, your cat may experience that as a change in closeness, not just a blocked path. That is why some cats get so persistent. They don't just scratch once and give up. They come back again, then try again later. Almost like they're checking whether the connection can be restored. And here is the interesting part. Sometimes when you finally open the door, they don't even rush in and make themselves comfortable. They may simply walk in, look at you, settle down, and that is enough. As if getting back into the shared space was the whole point. So if your cat has started doing this, ask yourself, did it begin after some kind of change? A move, a new sleeping arrangement, a guest staying over, or a new boundary around the bedroom? Because a lot of nighttime door scratching isn't bad attitude. It is quiet disappointment. Number 2, your cat sits at the head of your bed and watches you. A lot of people have had this happen and genuinely gotten spooked. You wake up halfway through the night and there is your cat, sitting perfectly upright at the head of the bed, staring straight at you. Silent, still, just watching. And, yes, waking up in the dark can feel creepy, especially if you were already in the middle of some weird dream. Two glowing little eyes staring at you at 3 a.m. is not exactly relaxing. But the truth is usually much softer than that. In many cases, this is just a kind of watchful behavior. Cats may look like they don't care about anyone, but cats that bond deeply with a person often pay very close attention to their condition, especially when something feels different. If you're sick, emotionally low, sleeping hard, or breathing differently, your cat may pick up on that even when you don't. Cats are incredibly sensitive to subtle changes. Your breathing rhythm, your body temperature, your scent, and the room can tell them something is off. Once a cat notices that, it may move closer and quietly watch. Not because it is being dramatic or trying to be weird, but because on some instinctive level, it feels like it should stay alert. This is common in cats that prefer to take up a watch position instead. Somewhere they can observe you clearly at the head of the bed or by the pillow. That behavior matters because cats do not waste attention on things they see as irrelevant. If your cat deliberately puts itself where it can monitor you, that usually says something. When people are really unwell, some cats take this even further. They stay nearby for hours, barely moving, almost like they are on duty. Not because they understand medicine, but because they can tell you are not yourself. Something in them says, I should stay. Number 3, your cat comes up to your face and listens to your breathing. This one catches a lot of people off guard because the feeling is so specific. You're half asleep and suddenly you feel something furry close to your face. Maybe a warm puff of air or whiskers brushing your skin. Your first thought is usually, what on earth are you doing? Honestly, a lot of people have the instinct to push the cat away. Then they immediately feel guilty. But yes, cats really do this, and it actually makes a lot of sense. Cats use scent and sound to check whether someone they care about is okay. In multi-cat homes, if one cat is unwell, another may come close to smell it. They listen to its breathing and quietly assess the situation. The same basic behavior can get directed toward humans too. When your cat comes close to your face, it is not trying to wake you up. It is doing a kind of primitive check-in to see if you're still here. You're still breathing and you're still part of the world it knows and depends on. That may sound intense, but in the cat's world, it is a very practical kind of reassurance. Almost like it is asking, everything still normal? And once the answer is yes, you'll sometimes notice the cat visibly relaxes. Its posture softens, it curls back up and settles down again, which means the check gave it what it needed. So if your cat sneaks up to your face at night, that may not be creepy at all. It may be one of the clearest examples of its caretaking instinct switching on. Number 4, your cat brings you gifts in the middle of the night. And the gift may be a sock, a toy, a hair tie, or some random object. A lot of cat owners have had this happen. You wake up in the morning. There is suddenly a fuzzy toy next to your pillow or a sock by your feet. Something that absolutely was not there when you went to sleep. Who put it there? You already know, the cat. And yes, it sounds ridiculous, but if you picture it for a second, your cat quietly gets up while you're asleep, goes off somewhere and finds something, carries it back in its mouth, places it near you, and lies down beside it. That whole sequence is already surprisingly emotional. Because in a cat's instinctive world, bringing things back is tied to care and teaching. Mother cats bring prey back to kittens, not just to feed them, but to teach them. So when a cat forms a very deep bond with a human, that instinct changes form. No prey, then a toy, or maybe a sock. Sure, if your cat has outdoor access, the gift may be much less adorable. But whether it is prey or a random household object, the emotional structure is similar. To you, it is random junk, but to your cat, it is something worth delivering. And if it leaves it right by your pillow, that makes it feel even more deliberate. Like the cat is saying, this is for you. Notice how often this happens at night, which is when the relationship is at its quietest. You're not multitasking, you're not scrolling your phone, you're simply there. And your cat knows where to place the object, which feels a lot like intention. Number 5, your cat patrols the room, then comes back to you. Some cats are basically night security guards. You think they've settled down. But after a while, they get up, walk the room, and check the door or windows. Then they come back to the bed, and later, they do it all again. If you've ever heard those soft little footsteps, you're not alone. At first glance, it just looks like they can't sleep. It looks like pointless wandering, but a lot of the time it isn't pointless at all. Cats are wired to patrol even inside a very safe house that instinct doesn't switch off. Because in your cat's sensory world, a lot of things are still worth checking. Is the room still quiet? Is there a new sound or a new smell? Movement outside the window or a shift in the air under the door? All of that can register as relevant, even if you think there is nothing to inspect. But your cat's threshold for notice is not your threshold, so it stays alert. A moth, a distant dog bark, a car outside, or a weird gust of air, all of that can be enough to send it on a quick, tired round. And once your cat has placed you inside its emotional map, that patrol is about you. Now it is not just checking the room, it is checking the order of the space around you. It walks the perimeter, comes back, confirms all is well, and only then fully relaxes. For some cats, this is almost ritualistic, not random at all, just part of the process. It is basically the cat version of checking that the doors are locked. So if your cat does these little midnight laps, don't assume it can't settle. It may simply be doing the night shift it assigned itself. Number 6. Your cat gives one tiny meow and stops the second you move. This one gets mistaken for annoying behavior all the time. Because yes, a single small meow at night can absolutely wake you up. Especially if you're a light sleeper, but if you think back carefully, there is a pattern. The meow often isn't loud. It is not repeated over and over. It is just one sound. You shift, you breathe differently, you move your hand and it stops. At the time, you may not think much about it, but the pattern becomes obvious. Your cat often doesn't need a full response at all, it just needs confirmation. This usually isn't about food, and it usually isn't about play. It is more like an emotional check, as if your cat is quietly asking, "Are you still here?" And the second you move, that is enough. It doesn't need you to sit up. It doesn't need a whole conversation. It needs one signal, one answer. And once it gets that, it settles because honestly, it is the simplest form of communication. A tiny call, a tiny answer done. That may sound almost too simple. But for cats, simple is often enough. They don't need a speech. They need a sign, a small piece of proof that you are still present with them. If this happens at similar times of night, it is one of its emotional checkpoints. In other words, that little meow may not be random, it is a nightly roll call. Number 7. If the door is shut, your cat may try to open it. This is close to the scratching behavior, but not exactly the same. Some cats don't just scratch, they paw at the door and push it with their body. They study the gap, trying to figure out why the space is closed off, mess with the handle, and act like they have been assigned a very serious mission. You may have seen videos of cats learning how to open doors. Some cats are so persistent about this that it is kind of impressive. A lot of people describe it as stubbornness, or just say, "My cat wants what it can't have." But again, there is often more emotion in it than that. Because for a cat, a closed door doesn't just block movement, it breaks shared space. Especially for a cat that normally associates the night with being near you. That closed door sends a very clear message: I am outside, you are inside. We are not together right now. And because cats tie emotional connection to spatial access, that can hit harder than people realize, so what the cat dislikes is not the door. It is what the door means: a break in closeness, a break in shared territory, a break in routine. That is why some cats get so intense about it. Not because they need to inspect the room, but because they don't want to be left outside. Number 8. Your cat licks your hair, your ear, or your forehead while you're asleep. Have you ever had that moment where you are half asleep and feel a rough tongue? You wake up instantly, totally confused, and do a quick panicked face check. Then you realize, nope, it is just the cat. As weird as it feels, this is actually one of the more intimate things a cat can do. Cats groom one another to maintain social bonds. It is basically relationship maintenance. It helps confirm that we belong to the same group. If you've watched cats that truly get along, you have probably seen this. They lick each other's heads or necks or ears. So when your cat grooms you while you're asleep, it is saying, you are one of my own. The fact that it does it while you're asleep makes it even more meaningful, because that means your cat feels safe enough to be vulnerable around you. It trusts your sleeping body, it trusts your space, it trusts the moment. That says a lot. Number 9. Your cat stays near you but doesn't actually touch you. A lot of people assume that if a cat loves you, it has to sleep on top of you. But that is not true at all. Some cats are deeply attached to their people and still choose not to sleep in contact. They may stay at the foot of the bed, on the edge, or a few feet away, close enough to be present but not physically touching. That isn't coldness. That can actually be a very thoughtful kind of closeness. Cats are just sensitive to distance. They protect their own boundaries and sometimes they respect yours too. Some cats seem to know perfectly well that if they climb all over you, you'll overheat or toss and turn, or maybe you just don't sleep well that way. So they find the middle ground near enough to be with you, far enough not to disturb you if your cat chooses your room, chooses your nighttime space, and then lies down at that careful little distance. That can be a very emotionally mature balance, as if it is saying, I want to be near you, but I don't want to make it harder for you. The point isn't whether it touched you, the point is that it stayed. It could have slept anywhere else, but it chose your room. That quiet presence can be one of the gentlest forms of affection a cat shows. And once you understand it, it feels incredibly tender. Because that is a cat choosing closeness without forcing it. Now, when you step back and look at all of this together, something really interesting happens. You start realizing your cat's nighttime behavior has way more meaning than people give it credit for. Scratching the door, sitting at your bedside, checking your breathing, bringing you gifts, patrolling the room, giving one small nighttime meow, trying to open a closed door, grooming you while you sleep, or choosing to stay close without touching on the surface. These all look like small weird behaviors, but underneath, a lot of them connect to one thing: connection. At night, your cat may be quietly checking again and again. Are you still here? Are we still connected? Is this space still ours? You may never have thought about cats in that way before. You may have always assumed cats only come to people when they want something. Then they go off and do their own thing. But now you know. While you are completely unaware, your cat may be doing the exact opposite. It may be checking on you, reconnecting with you, and quietly making sure that your place in its world is still where it expects. And honestly, the more you think about that, the more moving it gets. Because when humans are asleep, we're at our least responsive. You don't answer, you don't look, you don't pet them back. You may not even know what they did all night, and still, this little animal is paying attention to you. It doesn't announce it. It doesn't explain itself, it just does it. So if you used to think cats are distant or emotionally unreadable, it may be time to rethink that. Cats are not emotionless. They just hide a lot of emotion inside very small movements. Movements so light that if you don't know how to read them, you miss them completely. You may have even been annoyed. By some of these moments, you may have pushed your cat away, or mumbled at it half asleep, and then later realized that what felt irritating in the moment may actually have been one of the most sincere things it did all day. So tonight, when you turn out the light and you catch a glimpse of that little shape sitting quietly in the dark, you may not just think, why is my cat still awake? Maybe this is just how my cat stays close to me. And now I really want to hear from you. Has your cat ever woken you up by doing something strange in the middle of the night? Was it scratching the door, sitting at the head of your bed staring at you, suddenly sniffing your face, or leaving some bizarre little gift beside you? What is the weirdest thing your cat has ever done while you were asleep? Drop your story in the comments. I genuinely want to read them because a lot of the time, the thing you thought was your cat being completely ridiculous at 3 a.m. may turn out to be its quietest little love confession. Good night. Because tonight while you're asleep, there just might be a small cat in the dark, quietly checking to make sure you're still in its world.